Today's agenda is about ISO 9001 certifications or quality management certification based on your business process landscape. It's something I find very interesting because I have a background before I came to Gluu as a quality manager in a rather large factory producing plastic packaging for the food industry. So I'm myself also very familiar with this standard as it was part of my responsibility. And in Gluu, we strongly believe that basing quality management on your business processes is by far the strongest foundation for succeeding with it and also gaining the most value from quality management. If you do quality management that's mainly rooted in a quality department and in a specialized tool for quality management, then most companies really struggle to get the rest of the organization involved and taking ownership. So that's very problematic because most of what is required to achieve top level quality management happens in the business, not in your quality department. It happens in business processes done by employees all over your company in different departments. And if they do not take ownership of quality management, then it becomes very difficult to succeed. That leaves us with a big question. How do you actually do that then? How do you create a quality management system based on your business processes with business users engaged? Well, fortunately, we're lucky enough to have a very competent guest in that area with us today, Ali from the company Holbøll. And he is pretty much an expert on doing just that. Because Ellie, you actually just did it in your company. So why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the chance to talk about and explain how we in Holbøll chose to solve these challenges due to the quality management systems.
We're very happy
the company,
to have you here.
Thank you very much. The company is Danish, so the pronunciation of the company name is Holbøll, but I'm trying just to say it throughout this webinar, and then you can see how it's spelling, but no one, I think, expect anyone to pronounce it correct. It's a bit difficult, but to start with, I'm just going to make a very short intro on myself, and that's because I was asked to. And I'm civil engineer and been working, have some professional experience in the Danish road directorate, some municipalities, Holbøll, if some of you know it, been at the airport also sometimes, and now is in Holbøll, which I have some roles in. I have the management part of the quality management system, and I'm also ISO 9001 lead auditor, which means that I make the internal auditions or audits in the company. One of the main tasks I have had in the past 2 years is process mapping and also implementation of the QMS, which is the quality management system. And Holbøll is the main company I work in, but the expansion of the work had made the company buy some other companies which make some of the same key tasks, and that results in what is called Holbøll Group, an umbrella which some of the companies are beneath. The 3 companies that actually is under the ISO 9001 is the Holbøll and the Holbøll machines, which is where we have all our equipment and machines, and then a sister company we send in Danish, which is a smaller company which do the same thing, though, so we can cover a bigger area in Denmark.
Ellie,
Yes.
just to clarify for all the people listening in, sorry, we just had a comment about someone not being able to hear Ali speak very well. If anybody else has that problem, please let us know so we know if it's a local issue or an issue with the webinar, please. But for now, we'll assume that other people except Violetta can hear both of us. I hear Ali, so hopefully the rest of you also hear him. Marco, you can hear both of us. Okay, yeah, thank you. Great, that seems to be the main theme, that everybody except Violetta hears both of us. I'm sorry, Violetta, maybe sometimes logging in and out of the webinar might help. So try rejoining maybe to see if that fixes your sound issue. Ellie, what I was just about to ask you is that your company is in construction. That's your main line of business. But could you maybe just give a few examples of what it is that your company usually does in terms of projects, just to sort of understand that, and how many people work in the companies where you have been in charge of the certification?
Yes, of course. These are some of the, how you can say, key projects we are working with in our company. It's infrastructure, energy supply, climate adaptation, roads and traffic, some utility works, and concrete. We also have some works in. We are almost 200 employees on these 3 companies I showed under the Holbøll group. And these 200 employees are, like, some of them are administration at the offices, but a lot of them, maybe 75 to 80%, is actually construction workers, project management, anything in between that is actually on site, almost 100% of the working hours. So they are not directly administration sitting on the computer the whole day. So the systems and the way we have to think also was important to take this part of the thoughts in about the way we also could communicate to our employees on site. We have some offices around what is called Zealand in Denmark, and we have some, I would say, headquarters, but we have one for each company almost. And then we have some workstations around the area, also in Copenhagen, for example, where I sit today. So I travel a lot. Yes. I don't know if did that answer the question, Louisa?
It did, thank you.
Yes, but that's how the company works, and that's also how you can say was the expansion of the business and the way the company works and the goals the company have made the top management think about how we develop the quality management system and what is needed also from our customers and from the industry. Because one thing is what we want as a company, what we want to do, what we want our employees to do, and also what do our customers, what do the municipalities, the directories, what do everyone in the industry expect us to deliver. And that made, if you can say so, a plan for the journey, which resulted in, with the top management's approval, going in step by step by identifying the lack of structured procurement, as that says, like, the best way to start to see how good it is actually to see, do we have any quality management system, and then see how good is the quality management system, how up to date is it. From there, we somehow figured out that we don't actually have something we can build on. We have to start from scratch. And then we
So
mapped the key.
sorry to interrupt you, Eddie. It's just I was just wondering if did you have any documented processes or any parts of your business with a working even locally like quality management tasks being done at least, or what was your starting point in that regard?
The way we did it before this was every project manager has his or her customer, if you can say so, the municipality or the owner for a project, which they had some I would say systems we had to live up to. So for each project, each project manager, we had a system that meant that we could not help each other easily. That also meant we have as many systems as we had customers. We couldn't define the way we wanted to work. We had to adapt to what we were asked to. And of course that worked. We've been in the company is 78 years old almost. So we have a lot of projects. We still exist and we expand all the time. So we did something right. But was it like the optimal how you say it, the best way to do it, or could we develop and use the resources better? And that's what resulted in this plan for the journey. So we mapped the key challenges across the processes which I just addressed. We defined some quality objectives and compliance needs from the customer, from the industry. We designed a step-by-step implementation plan. From there, we had an agreement about, okay, so we lack some system. Okay, we have to create some system. Which challenges could we face, and which quality objectives and complying needs and goals do we have? When we had that, we started to look on the market for some system because we didn't want to make a PDF folder which we printed, placed at every workstation or headquarter, because that we couldn't maintain this, and we couldn't be sure that everyone would look in these folders in 200 pages. Like it's not that the most exciting thing to do at lunch. So we had to think out of the box and see how could we modernize and how could we lift the digital part of this journey to another level. And that actually made us go through some solutions. And we also had a talk with Gluu, which we ended up making a collaboration with, which we are very happy for. By when we used Gluu, I'm going to go back to how we do it. So I'm going to go live in Gluu and some slides from here. But in the Gluu system, we could use the case management features for active process controlling and also mapping the process for each of the part of the work we have in the company. From there, we could assign process owners and roll the system gradually. And then when we come there, when we come to the end of the road, if you can say so, due to the goals we had made for the QMNS, we could ensure alignment with the ISO 9001 principle. And that is said.
And I think that's something very interesting you did specifically, Ellie, with Holbøll. It was that you did not decide to get yourselves a specific tool for quality management. In Denmark, there are a few very common systems, in particular IPV, but on an international level, there are many quality management digital tools out there. But you guys chose a different approach. You chose the process approach. And that I find that very interesting, and I'm sure some of the attendees here are also thinking the same thing.
The reason why we did that is because we could see that we had a lot of knowledge in the company, a lot of people that have been used to do things in a specific way. And these people and this knowledge actually made Holbøll to Holbøll. That meant it shouldn't be a civil engineer starting in the company and telling everyone what they should do. because who am I to tell everyone what to do? Instead of, we just said, okay, what are we doing today? And what is good in this we are doing? And could we learn from each other? So we actually looked at how could we reuse and document the good things we do in the company, the good feedback we get from our customers, the good, the how you say it, like how could we develop the systems that we have, and by starting in the sorry, by starting in the process, we could from there say, okay, here we can see we have a lag in some of the information. Here we could use some more help. Here we could actually just enroll it to everyone, so everyone could use that good thing that one employee do on this side. But because sometimes, or most of the times, the employees on site would not like talk together. So there could be a lot of good things just being done on one side, and on another side that could be a very difficult task to solve. So in that way, we tried to zoom in on the process, and from that work out and see how could we enroll it to the whole organization.
Yeah, and it sounds like, Ellie, you realized that you had a lot of good knowledge across your organization, and if you could manage to put that in standardized processes, standardized ways of working that you could share with everyone, then you actually would more or less have reached the quality level that you wanted to be at. So you were already doing it, you are just not doing it consistently. So that was
Exactly.
your main focus, to get to a level of consistency.
Exactly. And also, as I told before, it's like we had a lot of good ways to do it for each project manager, but why not mix it to one good way we all could do? And then
Mm.
we could also help each other, and that way optimize in the working hours we have, and also could be more flexible and help each other. And actually, the whole quality management system has always been our main goal. We wanted to ensure the consistency, as you say, Louise, and clarity across the processes. We wanted to support the improvement and the operational efficiency. We wanted to improve the collaboration through the clear roles and workflows we had in this process. But because we didn't just want to jump on the train and say, okay, the industry, the customers wanted us to be uh, like have a quality management and maybe also look into ISO 9001. But what if we actually also meant it? Said that we also want to be good at what we are doing. We want to lift the standard. We wanted to have some place where the employees, maybe newer employees, to come and see how do we do what we do in the company. But because we, as I tried to say, not only want to jump on the train, but also want to be in front of this train, then we thought, like, when we are doing it so good, and when we have Gluu, which give us some of these utilities to do it in the right way, why not go further with our secondary goal, which was the ISO 9001 certification, which can provide us with a more internationally recognized quality framework, not because we are working internationally, but the work we do is like lifted because some of our customers could have some higher expectations. We could boost our compliance and audit readiness. We could build trust through documented process-based management. So everything we did could we actually now also document under the ISO 9001. And then I've been talking about it a little bit, but why Gluu? What did we see in Gluu that could help us come to the goals that we put in front of us? The visual and interactive workflows, which we use a lot in Gluu, have a big impact on how we work. The way the tasks created by the key staff works, the clear role assignments for each activity. We also use it actually now to the onboarding for our new employees, which we also can use Gluu for, and that works very good. the compliance with standards and updates so we can bind the ISO standards and chapters to the activities and processes we have in Gluu. The quality and delivery through shared processes, so we could share the information we have which with each other instead of just having on like a local drive on the computer or a print somewhere. And also the very, in my opinion, easy maintenance and editing process we have in Gluu, because we don't have to make a new print folder every time we make a new dot or change a topic. We could actually be sitting in a meeting with top management, make a decision, make a change, and then actually just approve it. And when we go from that meeting, we are sure that everyone in the organization actually are working on the most updated information and processes. This actually in the way we work in the construction industry, you don't like the same way as in a municipality or some other areas necessarily write some when you finish the meeting, you don't always send some emails out to confirm that what we have made a deal of. So some of this is, or some parts of the Gluu system make us like when we are done, so then we are done. Then everything is automatically being versioned in Gluu, and we can be sure that everyone have the information available.
And I think, Ellie, from our perspective and with my quality manager background, I have to say I'm really impressed at what you've done here, because for those of you watching this webinar that are unfamiliar with the construction business, it is a business with a very low degree, at least in Denmark, of digitalization. So not only did you manage to document and standardize the way that you work, you also managed to get ISO certified just a few months ago with 0 non-conformities, which I know you would never mention that yourself. You are much too humble for that, but then let me shine that light on you, because that's very impressive to get through that first certifying audit with 0 non-conformities. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
And also you managed to digitalize, and you did this all in one go because of the approach you chose using your business processes.
Mm.
Oh yeah, there are also other people that are very impressed, Ellie, leaving you messages in the chat about how impressive
okay,
it is. Well done. Much deserved praise.
Thank you very much for the words. And the thing I want to comment on that is actually that the lead auditor, the external lead auditor we have, DNV, which gave us the certificate, was actually at the starting point a bit skeptic about that, me telling him that I could give you a link to our system and you can find everything there, and everything is linked to the ISO chapters. He was like, okay, I want to see it before I believe it. And actually he did see it, and he was very like thrilled about, okay, so you actually have a system where you have everything and you can like document everything, and you can make every part of the process to smaller activities, and for every activity you can make a workflow, so the end users actually only have to look on the tasks as a checklist and say, okay, if I do this, then automatically I can live up to the ISO 9001 standard and also to the quality management we have, but also can document that I actually did what I was asked to, because the system automatically stamped that who did it and at which time and what did they write and comment on the checklist. So everything I needed could be a link. It was only a link in Gluu. I didn't need anything else actually. I could answer anything in the Gluu. I could search in Gluu. I could find everything, and that also made it the the process with the external certificate organization a bit easier, because there's always this stage one, which is a document, how you say it, like
A document audit,
yes, exactly, the document
documentation
audit,
audit.
exactly, where we can just like look at the documents. That's why, or what I say that we do. That's one thing, but what do we actually do? What do the project managers? What do the guys and then the on-site do? So when we went out in, I think it was 3 days in a row on sites, he could actually see that even the last man on site could recognize some of the things that I said we did, and he could actually, and the project managers could actually log into Glue and find some of the information that I just said we did. So I could, of course, be saying anything I wanted to say to make it look good, but when he then could see that the end users also could go in and see it and actually use it, that was, I think, the most important thing for them, and that's
Yeah.
also why we why we chose to use Glue for this.
And Ellie, isn't that just the perfect teaser for all of us wanting to see what you actually did in the system in Glue?
Yes, when you ask it in this way, of course it is. I'm going to show some of the things we did. It's a there's a lot of work, a lot of processes, but I'm trying going to show some of the. This is in Danish, but I'm going to show two processes. One for the project planning we have in construction, and actually one for how I use it for for internal audit. So I also use it myself to see how can I improve it, and then we can also see how this workflow I talked about works, and how we then connect the ISO chapters to each of these activities to make a binding at the end. And just
And I think Ellie,
yeah.
while you're looking for that to get that on the screen, oh, that was quick. You're very quick. I just wanted to encourage all you guys watching this to ask any questions you might have for Ellie when he's showing you stuff in Glue, or when based on anything that he's told you guys about the journey, how they got there. You're very, very welcome to ask questions, and then we'll take them either during the demonstration in Glue or at the end. We will make sure that we get to your questions. So just let us know. Okay,
Yes.
we're very, very ready to see what it looks like in real life to have an ISO 9001 certification based on your business processes.
I will try to do it in a tempo that makes sense, because I've been working with this a lot. So I could maybe be just clicking around. So please just tell me if I have to slow down. The way we have divided, very important to say that there's no directly rule on how to make it. This is how we chose to make our quality management system. How we bind it to the ISO is another talk. Is how activities is bind to which chapter in ISO. But the way I'm showing now is one way of doing it, and that's what's working for us in Holbøll. We have these core processes. It's in Danish, so I'm trying to translate while I'm presenting here. And we have some support processes, and then we have the company, how you say it, like administration. We have a question, Louise. I don't know if.
Yes, if you don't mind, Ellie, we can just take it now. We have
Yes.
Jesper watching on LinkedIn. He's asking, do you think that the implementation of Glue have actually cut some time from starting the actual certification?
I just want to be sure that I understand the question. It's like using Glue did actually for us cut sometimes in the process, if that's the question, because instead of making a lot of these words and PDF documents and see how we could bind things, the drawing tool in Glue is actually very, very easy, because instead of sometimes if you do something in Word or PowerPoint, you can't always bind the boxes and the arrows. But when using Glue, had been using a lot of time. I can see in developing an equipment, a utility that actually make it very, very simple for me to draw the process and to bind it with some swim lanes. I can show it a bit more in 2 minutes. But yes, of course, it did cut a lot of time because I could just continue anywhere for a while left. I could activate and process to everyone in the organization. I could make changes which like came directly immediately to the organization. I could find anything in the system. I didn't have to look up. I can search it like a small searching machine in the quality management system in this search box up here. So for me, that made my time, it was optimized. So if I had to use, let's say, 200 hours, I could use the 200 hours to make it like much better. So maybe that's also the reason why we come through with the 0 deviations, because we could use the time much better by having a system that could support us all the way.
Yeah, and I think Eddie, it's also a very good point to say that because you had your business processes as the foundation, all you had to do to get to the certification was just to link it to the standard and just fill in the small gaps that you didn't already have in your processes, but that are a requirement in the standard.
Yes, and I also think because of the way we thought of solving this, I wouldn't say the problem, but the QMS system was by thinking about a system who could support us in the way we thought. That meant that because of we are starting from the process mapping, then made it possible to easily link, as you say, Louise, to the ISO and the chapters in the components utility that's in Glue. So yes, so the way we were thinking combined with the Glue made the process a lot easier, I will say, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we have another question from Christian asking if you are linking the processes with keywords to make it easier for the users to search. And I think this question, Ellie, is maybe just where you go back to what you had planned to show us in the demo, because I think it will answer this question and also similar questions that might come up in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. So Christian, we're going to maybe answer the question in some minutes. I'm just try to show what I think was the right way, and then I will end actually at the end show how I bind or link to, because it's actually somehow a manual, but also automatically linked to the processes. But the way we chose to make the quality management was by having some processes. If I start here, I can show there's nothing secret in these things. But if I try to look at the project planning here in our production and see how are we expecting our employees to work with the way the customers want, the way we want, the way the industry want us to develop towards. I prepare the tabs here, so I just go further. Here I have this process map, which is a lot of things happening on one screen. But when I start, I only have one box grayed out just to help me start. And from here, I can start by saying there's something happens here, an activity or a task that happens that actually creates some activities that then create some other activities, and so on until I have solved this process or solved the task in this process. And for each of these activities, they are placed in some swim lanes. Which of these swim lanes are actually roles for employees in Glue system? That meant that everyone in the project, if I click here, I can see everyone that have this role as employees. And then everyone knows, okay, what happens here is actually my direct responsibility to ensure that we're going to go through it. Here is management and so on for each of these activities in the process. But no one, I think, will normally open this as the first thing they do Monday morning, because it's like, okay, where do I have to start? So from here, we could actually make this workflow by putting one of these. If I go back here, you can see some of these topics. Den gyldne day, we say in Danish. We have it here as a task in the workflow. And that make us like see, okay, when we start a project, we have to start with this activity, with this checklist first. And from there, the employees can continue and check it out and say, okay, I've done that. And then the automatically documentation in Gluu will happen. I will show another process unless you have questions, Louisa.
I was just thinking, for people that are not familiar with task management in Gluu, like Ellie said, this is a workflow based on the process, in this case, project planning. And every activity can be represented in the workflow with X amount of tasks. And as soon as you activate the workflow, then all the people in your organization involved in the workflow will automatically be informed when it's their turn to do a task. So that would mean, Ellie, for you guys, right, that on your, even on your, if you follow that train of thought to the very end, your guys walking around your sites where you're working, they could, in theory, get a task notification on their cell phone in their pockets on Monday morning, so they know what to do on the site. That's just
Yes.
to illustrate how it works.
Actually, on the next process, I can maybe simplify it and maybe show one more thing that I didn't plan for, but it could maybe ease the understanding of how it could be used. This process is actually in the other process, there are a lot of other employees, so maybe I'm trying to go like very fast. Over here, it's only me, so I can show you more. This is how we plan and do the internal audit. This is the process for it. I am lead auditor, but also an auditor, but we have divided because of being sure that when we expand, maybe that could be more than me doing this. So we are being true to the process and be ready for the next part of 2.0 in this part of it. Here I have an activity with some explanation. I have my audit program. I could have some other things in it. I could go to see, okay, now I'm going, this is the preparation for the audit. This is the audit. This is the checklist. If I have anything I want to add, I can make a checklist I can fill out, write a lot of things and use it this way. And then from there, if there's any deviations, I can go see, okay, if there's deviation, what do I do? If there's not, then I go back to ending this audit for the project. And from here, the same way, if I want to make it like an easy way to handle in the workflow, I don't know what it's called in English, Louisa, maybe you can help.
The case templates. Is that what you're?
Correct. No, this directly explain what is it in the English version of
say
Gluu.
Skabeloner. That's case templates.
Okay.
In English, yeah.
Here you can. I have created some, but I can just try to create someone. I just say create a new template. Then it automatically made me an example from the activities I showed in the process, which is still up here, and tell me, okay, I can change what I have to start with. I can say this is a critical task. If I just click it, then no one can continue without filling out. Oh, I can say, no, this is not a critical, so everyone can proceed without this task. When I'm done, just going to see cancel. I can actually go back and take, this is my tasks. I did it very fast, but I'm just want to show you the overall view. This is actually for the internal audit, the same process, but this is actually what I just showed you, the case flow. So now I know I have to be writing, okay, what are we going to do? What is the plan for the audit? Who is going to be in the audit? And then I have some questions for myself. Am I prepared? And so on. And then on the audit day, I can have some checklists I can fill out, and then it will automatically like go in and close this task. So every time I have something green in this process, it's done. Orange says it needs to be done, and gray, that's because there's some critical task that's not filled out yet. But this is how you go from the process, for example, this one, to actually to have it on hand for the end users to use without, because the process map is actually only for the management and for me and maybe the top management and the people making decisions on how we are going to work in the company. And this also is made by having a lot of interviews with the top management, with the management, and also from guys from the site. So this way, say, okay, we can get as much input as possible to then make this and create this for them.
So you've really taken your processes, Ellie, from the big perspective, end to end, what happens here. And then with case management, you've turned the process into an everyday tool for regular employees in your company. So they're basically, just by doing their tasks in Gluu, they are part of fulfilling the requirements in your quality management system by
Exactly.
doing their job. Yeah.
Exactly.
And you
Because
get all the documentation in Gluu that way. Then.
I can take a report out in Excel and report it to the external auditor when I want at any time, and it always be up to date. The alternative way to do it was making this process mapping in Word, PDF, and have them in some folder, and then also have another system to say, okay, how are we working? How do we document that we actually are doing what we are saying we are doing? And this way we are binding everything, so we are only doing what we actually have to do.
Yeah. Julia is asking, did I understand it correctly? You create a general workflow how to do an internal audit. Afterwards, the internal auditor can start to do a check, like a to-do list for an actual internal audit, and use this tool on to do an audit on day X. And then the audit findings are then documented in Gluu.
Yes, actually, I can show you maybe an example. In this case, I showed you was actually an audit I have not been done yet. It's tomorrow for me. So, but yes, you are right. From this process, I make a workflow which actually is a to-do list for me. And for each to-do, I have some, how you say, a checklist that can make me sure that I remember everything that I promised to do in my process towards my ISO 9001 certification from the external part. So if I maybe take one of my close, just 2 seconds, I just have to.
If you just filter on the process, Ellie, that's probably
yes.
the easiest at the very top.
Yeah, I was just. If I can take some project with findings, this one example, you can see here I have been done with this audit. I had a checklist with some questions I filled out. In the audit, I wrote a lot of comments, and then from there, I actually had a question in my own checklist which say, do we have any findings? And yes. And for each finding, I make also in Gluu a checklist which says, okay, you found something. Which process is it in your own quality management system? This is the chapters I showed you in the start with all these processes. And then I also have say, what about the ISO? Okay, it's the chapter 7.5, the documented information in ISO 9001, which lacked. In this case, one of my colleagues, he had forgotten to save a contract. That was like he had it, but it was not located where we asked it to be located in the process. So in that way, I already have, okay, so I have this finding and I have another finding and so on. I don't want to like show everything in Gluu that Louise, you know much better, but in Gluu, it is possible to say, okay, this checklist which is called findings, I want to see every finding which was used or filled out with this checklist. And then I can get maybe 20, and this list I can export to Excel. And from there, say, okay, I have all these findings. Are they closed? This a due date? What is the action? Who I have to do what in this case? So
And
yes,
it's
the question
really
is,
amazing, yeah, that you get to collect everything there in just one place. That's also very useful for audits. It's very easy to find everything that you have to show the auditor. But Ellie, we have 12 minutes to the hour now, so I would really like for you to show
yes,
also in regards to Christian's
yeah,
question,
that
how you show the different parts of the standard and how they're linked to your
yes,
processes.
I can do that now. Actually, I have it ready here in Glue. That's what's called components, which is actually it can be used to whatever you want. It's just a list of a lot of information. We also have our like everything for how you say it, rules in Denmark and so on.
Yeah,
But
all the legislation that you need
it,
to adhere
yes,
to. Mhm.
but we also chose to say, okay, but we can put everything from the ISO 9001, just put it in a list and just give them the correct name. And in this case, I chose to say red is something that we have like maintained on, and then there's something yellow, which also in ISO is something that we have to document. We have to save it somewhere. So this is the list I made manually. But if I just
And
go back
for
to,
and
yeah,
for those of you that do not speak Danish, you can see all the numbers. They correspond to all the different chapters in the standard. Uh,
yes,
6 is
exactly.
planning. Then you have 6.1, 6.2, quality goals, and so on. So it's everything you know from the standard, just turned into components. And basically components, it's like a repository. It's a library of building blocks that you can then use all across your process landscape.
Yes, from here, actually, you can say if I am asked to how am I working with 6.2, I can actually go in here and say, okay, I have a process which is quality goals, which I can go to and see here. I actually answer that question. But the other way you also can do it, this is the in everyday tasks. If I have these activities and the other one I showed you with the case flow, for each of the tasks I have, then this is called why in English. So here you can see why are you asked to do this. That's because in ISO 9001, chapter 9.2, there's internal audit. I have to do this. So here I show, okay, I have to do this. Okay. What about here? Still, it's 9.2 and so on. And all these chapters are spread out on all these processes I tried to show here. So all the chapters are somewhere placed here, or you can go into the components the other way and see, okay, where can I find something about the 4.3, for example? Then I can see, okay, so I can click here and read what I wrote in, which like live up to the ISO 9001.
So it both gives you the mapping, like when you click this chapter, it tells you every activity and every process where this is used or related to. But it also gives you, besides the mapping, a very visual way for your colleagues reading your work instructions in the processes that they work in, a very visual way to see, oh, okay, this is related to our ISO certification. So it also helps raise awareness in your organization. You know how ISO talks about culture a lot also, and it's a very difficult thing to work with and to prove that you're working with in the certification. Then this is also very helpful.
And actually, also a comment to that is when we had this audit, that's a very important thing to talk about. How do we communicate some of these important things? That when is what we are describing as something you shall do, and when is it something you can't do? Because we're not saying you shall do everything like that. We can say you have to make a contract. You can use this template, but if you have something else, it's okay. Just have to document it. But when we have these reds, it says shall, then you say you have to use this template, or you have to do this and this. So in that way, we also can make it easier for our employees to see. There's a lot of just 77 points that you have to remember. Even I cannot, and I've been working with this in 2 years. So somehow we have to make some system to tell our employees to say, like, if it's red or yellow, then be like have extra focus on that, and make sure that you do it like exactly. Every other place is like you can almost do what you want, and that way we don't like lock our employees, give them that experience of having the ability to choose to solve the problems without being like locked too much.
Yeah. Eddie, unless there's something else you really want to show, maybe this should conclude the demo.
Yes.
Just in case we have any questions, then please ask them, guys. We have a few minutes for that, and then we'll wrap up the webinar. Oh, we do have a question that just came in from Marco. Do you use Gluu to store your contracts that are the result of a workflow?
No. That's the fast question. The system is able to be connected to SharePoint, which we are working on. Gluu is ready. We were not ready for that. But this is not a document sharing system. This is a process sharing system for us. So we can link to where to find it in our SharePoint or server when we are talking about templates. And we could sometimes also have the template uploaded in the system, but then it will be dead, and then there's some maintenance. So we are working on linking directly to the SharePoint, so every link is actually live, and every change will be live too. So that's the answer.
And we actually, Marco, and Ali, just to follow up on that question, we actually, like you said, Ali, we have that SharePoint integration. So we have other contracting customers using Gluu where they do everything in the workflow, including contracts. So what that means is that when you perform a task, complete a task in a workflow, it's automatically sent to SharePoint. But you can also upload documents that you have in your work instructions to SharePoint once the workflow is activated. So that's what those contracting customers do. They send stuff like applying for building permits. That's always a very formal document that you have to hand over to the authorities. It needs to be the newest version. If not, you have to do it again. So for instance, that's something they send straight to SharePoint when they close a contract and activate a new workflow for a project. And then they fill it in SharePoint. But everything they do in the workflow is also put in SharePoint. So it becomes the place where they have like an archive of everything they did, including photos they took as they were completing tasks for customers to prove that they did it or that they did it a certain way. So they have all that documentation stored as well, including contracts. We also have a question from Trine, Eddie. Do you use labels in Gluu?
No, we don't actually. That's because, as I remember, the labels are for the processes, but we want to do it like a step further. That will be for the activities. So we are linking the components, because in that way we can make it more variable to say for this activity, this is the component, and so on in the same process. Otherwise, then the whole process will be just locked to one thing, and that's not how we do it in our company.
No, and it's actually, I think, Ellie, for you guys, you chose to use labels because, no, other way around, to use components because you wanted them to be visible very clearly in the work instructions.
Yes,
You
exactly. Also.
can add labels to activities, but it's at a top level, so they won't be
Exactly.
shown in the work
Yes.
instruction.
That was a better way to say it. Yes.
I
Will I
think
just take
we only have a few minutes left, so I think we have to just start wrapping up the webinar.
Yes.
And one thing is, what's next for you guys? If you could just spend 30 seconds telling us that, because that's also quite interesting, I think.
For us, that it was a success that we managed to come through the 9001. So the top management just saying like, just keep on the good work, and then just take the next two, the 14,000 and the 45,000 ISO certificate. So that's what we are working on, and of course the continuous development in the ISO 9001 quality management, and the 14 and 45,000 ISO will also be included the same way. We're just adding some new processes and linking to them somehow, and that will be okay because we work in the same way. So that's the goal for us.
Yeah. And we're very excited to follow that journey for you as well, to see how well you do there too.
Thank you. We're also excited.
Ellie, thank you so much for showing us this and talking to us about